Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. Today we are here with the next update for my Pan Those Eyeshadows. This is one of my favorite projects to do still to this day. It's been going around for years and years now and was originally of course created by Alexi. She doesn't post anymore as you guys probably know already, but I will have a channel link down below. Anyway, I do believe her videos are still up if you want to check them out, her old videos of the series and other things as well. She used to have really creative eyeshadow looks and I loved watching her. I do miss her a little bit to be honest, but I know that she's having a great time on her farm with her horses and of course having different hobbies now, which is completely fine. But today, like I said, we are going to do my Pan Those Eyeshadows update, and this year as well as I believe last year, maybe even the year before that, I have been using Laney's prompts. So I'll also have Laney linked down below because she created a prompts list that you can use for this project, and I felt like that was really fun. I love prompts in projects, and also it gives me a little bit more freedom on picking my own kind of products for this project. So I'm gonna jump into the update, but before I do so, if you're new here, please consider subscribing. I would love to have you in the family. Let's jump into the video. So before I jump into the shadow, I actually want to quickly breeze over my rules. You probably know a lot of them already if you aren't new to the series this year, but I work on 4 shadows at any point in time, and again using the prompts to select them. And my goal is to of course hit pan, and if I can't do that within 20 uses, I'm allowed to roll things out. So we're going to start off with the first shadow, and that is something that I rolled in for matte blue eyeshadow, and I decided to go with this shadow right here from Sydney Grace. This is the shade Perfect Storm, which is a really beautiful, slightly more muted grayed out blue, and I feel like this was the perfect blue to roll in for the winter time or like the early stages of the year. And it's been a really fun shade to work on. So this is what it looked like at the first update, and I had used it 5 times at this point. I can't remember now if there was any dip or anything, but these Sydney Grace shadows are very hard pressed, and usually it's quite hard to see a dip. But since it's also a colorful shade, I do usually tend to use a bit more of a like a precise brush, which means that the dip is a little bit more targeted. So at least that's good. And in the second month, I also used it 5 times. So this is what it looked like at the second update, which was last month. I had used it 10 times in total at that point. And again, you can see a little bit of use, but nothing, you know, severe, and I was like 99% sure this time I would not be able to pan within my 20 uses just because it was moving so slowly, and again I was kind of expecting that anyway with the Sydney Grace formula. So at that point what I did is I decided to focus in on this shade to try to hit my 20 uses just so I could roll this out with that point rather than again waiting for me to hit pan. And this is what it looks like today, and I'm happy to say that I was able to reach for it 10 additional times in the past month for the total of 20, which means that I have hit my usage goal on this shadow. And as you can see, I am nowhere near pan, but at least you can see a little bit of use on it, a little bit of a dip, but again of course no pan. So yes, that is the shadow right there, and as you can see, hopefully there is a little bit of a dip but no pan, and again that is completely what I expected with this shadow. It is a beautiful shadow. It is again like kind of grayed out blue, and it's been really fun to reach for. I think because it is a little bit more of a neutral leaning blue, it's been a bit easier to incorporate into like everyday looks. I've been pairing it a lot with cool tone like gray toned mattes, like, you know, really taupey browns, stuff like that, and it's been nice that way. But it's also been working with blues and more colorful shades, and even the shade that I'm wearing on my outer corner today, that kind of tealy shade, it's been really nice to use to blend that out. So it's been a very versatile shade, and that's why I was able to get 10 additional uses on it in the past month. But again, very happy with that, and that means we have our first rollout. I'm gonna go ahead and swatch this one out so you can see what it looks like though. So there you have that blue shade, and again you can see it is a little bit more grayed out. It's definitely still a blue, so it did fit the prompt, but yeah, I'm happy to say that this one is rolling out, and we're going to move on to the second shade. So the second shade in this project has been in for 2 months, so 1 month less than the Sydney Grace shade, and I rolled this one in for any matte shadows. So I had a lot of freedom with what I picked for this prompt, but I did film that update on Valentine's Day, and I also had my Natasha Denona Love palette, which I wanted to get more use out of, obviously, in February and around that time of year. So I decided to go with a shadow from there, and I went with this shadow right here, which is called Valentine. So perfect for Valentine's Day. I'm rolling it in that day, but it's this beautiful warm toned pink shade. And it's been, again, a nice shadow to be able to reach for both in more neutral looks if I pair it with more like mauve tones or even warmer tone shadows, but also more in colorful looks too. So in that sense, it is quite versatile. It is, however, Natasha Denona's regular matte formula, not her cream to powder mattes, which means that this one is also moving quite slowly. It's definitely more of a hard-packed, difficult formula to pan on. But in the first month, I reached for this one 6 times, and this is what it looked like at that point. So again, a little bit of use, nothing too much, but similar to that blue shadow, since it is more of a colorful shade, I do usually use a bit more of a targeted brush. So the dip is definitely showing a bit more than maybe a transition shade would do, even though this is a transition shade too. But I find with these colorful shades, if I want them to show up colorfully, I do have to pack them on a little bit more. So the dip is, again, a little bit more distinct with those shadows. But yeah, that was last update, and this is what it looks like today. So I'm not sure if you're going to see a massive difference. I actually only used this one 2 additional times in the past month, so I'm now sitting at 8 uses. Again, it's been a beautiful shadow to reach for, and it's actually a perfect springtime shadow, so it would be perfect to reach for this time of year. But I've just been focusing on other things and kind of forgot about this one, to be honest. So I definitely need to pick up my usage game with this one, and maybe have it out next month. I do have 12 uses left to go or hitting pan, but yeah, that is what it looks like now. So here is the shadow, and you can see that there is a little bit of a dip show. It's this one, of course, that pink shade, but nowhere near pan. And I know for a fact already that I'm not going to hit pan within those 20 uses, so this is also going to be a 20 user, which I kind of expected when I rolled it in anyway. That is the swatch of it right there. So again, it is a beautiful, beautiful warm toned pink. It's actually quite neutral, like it goes with both cooler tones and warmer tones. But I really like the undertone of this one, which is why I rolled it in, because I could have picked any matte in my collection, but I thought this one would be so stunning and incorporate a lot with my Pan palette, like the more neutral mattes in there, but also with more colorful shades. And I'm also wearing this one today, so that is the pink that I'm wearing on like my inner crease and stuff like that in this look. So it's been really fun to play with looks like this, but also again with more neutral tones. So that is where this one is sitting now. Again, I'm gonna try to have this one out next month. We'll see if I'm able to do that or not. I am not 100% sure if I can, because I do have those 12 uses left, but I'll do my best and we'll see where I end up next month. The last 2 shadows that I have, I rolled in last month, so they've only been in for a month now. And the first one we have comes from the Going Coconuts palette from Colourpop. And the prompt that this one represented was a Colourpop shimmer. So of course I decided to go with one of the 3 shimmers in this palette. It has 3 shimmers that go straight down in the middle. And I went for the middle ones, the one that is right in the smack dab in the middle of the palette, and that is called Cocoa Crush. So this is what it looked like when I first rolled it in. Again, that was last month. I definitely used this shadow in the past. It's a really, really stunning, very shimmery metallic shade. It's actually one of the better formulas from Colourpop, even though I can tell this one is getting a little bit older now, but I still have a lot of pigment and it's quite a shiny shadow, which is nice. So it's been perfect to reach for on the everyday. I've been using this one a lot in everyday looks, going to the office, stuff like that. And this is what the shadow looks like today. So as you can see in the footage, I was able to pan on this shadow, but it took me quite a long time. It took me 16 uses to pan on this one, and of course it wasn't brand new or anything when I first rolled this one in. I've reached for it again quite a lot. It's my favorite shimmer in this palette. But I'm excited that I was able to pan. I think because the formula is still quite good, I don't have to build it up as much, and that is why it took a little bit longer to pan on it than some of the other more mainstream shimmers that I work on in this project. So very, very excited. That is the shadow right there. You can see I did create quite a decent dip, and the pan is, you know, very, very visible too. It's not the biggest pan, but it's definitely there. And I did actually pan on this one in today's look. I knew that I was gonna pan on it today. I wore this one yesterday, and I was like sure I was going to hit pan yesterday, but I didn't quite get there. I know that if I used dog in it a little bit yesterday, I would have hit pan on it because I could see. I feel like with certain brands now, I am really good at gauging when I'm going to hit pan because I'm used to hitting pan on those like specific shadows, and it's the same with ColourPop. So I had a feeling, and what I did today is I incorporated this one into this look. I wanted to go for more of a colorful look today, but what I did is I put it in my inner corner and down here just to brighten my eyeshadows a little bit, and then I just topped it a little bit on the very inner corner because it is a little bit too deep for me to use as an inner corner highlight, so I used a different shade for my product level up. But as I predicted, I was able to pan on it, which is great because that means we have a second rollout, and that is the shade right there. So you can see it is still a really nice shadow. It performs super well and it is very shiny. It doesn't take loads of building either, so it's been a joy to reach for, and I did really enjoy this one quite a bit. But we do have another eye rollout, so I'm going to go ahead and replace this at the end of the video. And then the final shadow that we have also rolled in last month, of course, and I rolled this one in for a shadow starting with Q, and as you can imagine, Q is quite a not difficult shade to find, but you usually have quite a limited amount of shadow starting with Q because it's not the most common letter. But I actually decided to roll in one of my newest shadows in my collection, which, you know, might be not the smartest idea, but I was just excited to reach for this one and have an excuse to not let it sit in my collection for ages before I started using it. So I went for this shadow right here, which comes from Shine by SD. Again, I purchased this one last month, so it's very, very brand new. I only had it in my collection for about probably exactly a month now, but this is the shade Quantum. So again, starting with Q, it is a beautiful light blue shadow that shifts into purple, so it is a multichrome, and on top of that it's also a holographic shadow. This formula is really, really stunning. It is the Halo Horizon formula from Shine by SD. So yeah, it's a very interesting formula because it does have that shift. It's, you know, on top of that blue, I think it's almost like a greeny teal as well, going into blue, into that purple, and almost a pink as well. So it is very, very shifty, and then it does have a lot of holographic sparkles. So this is what the shadow looks like today. So you might be able to see a little bit of use, not too much, but I used this one 3 times, so definitely reach for it, but not, you know, the best. I did spend a lot of time focusing on the ColourPop shade and the Sydney Gray shadow because those were the ones that I was pretty sure that I could have out this month. And these other 2 shadows I have neglected a little bit. I feel like this one could have gone a lot with the blue shade, but I did just incorporate that with other things that this one didn't necessarily go with. But I did pair it with that blue a couple times at least because it does, like, it did really pair nicely. But yeah, that is what this shadow looks like today. So actually looking on camera now, you can see a lot of the green, but when I look at it, I can see it looks more blue, and then again it goes into a purple. I don't know if you can pick it up at all on camera. But again, that is the swatch of it right there. You can see how beautiful this shadow is. I don't know, again, if you can pick up the holographic shimmers at all. I do also have the swatch on my fingers. Maybe you can see it a bit better there. I think you can see how it goes into like that blue. I don't know if you can pick up the purple, but it is super shifty and such a beautiful shadow. So it's been, again, a joy to reach for. I really loved my color story last month. I feel like it was perfect for spring. It was lighter tones. You had those like, you know, Easter type of shades, so springy type of shades with these like pastels, and then you had that neutral tone as well. So very, very fun color story, and I did enjoy it loads. But I'm excited to also switch it up a little bit with 2 new shadows rolling in. So yeah, that's the palette right now. Of course, we have 2 shadows staying in, which is the Natasha Denona Pink and then that last shadow from Shine by SD. So those 2 are staying in, but these 2 shadows right here are rolling out. I will go ahead and swatch out the 2 shadows that are remaining here, and then we're going to go ahead and roll in 2 more shades. So here we have the 2 shadows that are staying in. Again, super pretty, perfect for the season, but I'm excited to see what I get next. So I do have my Pan Those Eyeshadows bio right here with all the prompts, and you can see some of them are blacked out. Those are the prompts that I've already worked on, but we're going to go ahead and pick the first prompt. And that is an outer corner shade. Okay, so they're definitely going to get some depth this time, but that is the first prompt. And then secondly, we are going to get an indie shadow. great. Love my indie shadows. I have a lot of them in my collection, so that's going to be fun too. So I'm going to go ahead and look through my collection, decide what I want to roll in, and then I will be right back. So I'm back and I have picked out my 2 new shadows. I'm very excited for the color story. This is the color story that we have now. Super pretty. I feel like it goes really well together. But let me talk you through the 2 shadows that I'm rolling in. So for indie shadows, I actually decided to go with one of my singles because I'm trying to get more use out of those this year. As you might be able to tell with the type of shadows that are in this project, a lot of them are singles. But I did want to roll in something else for outer corner shadow, just because I do want to also use my palettes. I don't want to neglect them this year. So I was looking at my palettes thinking, what kind of palettes do I want to reach for this time of year? And you know, I went for a couple, but then I also have the problem that I do have quite a few outer corner shades in my Pan palette, the soft glam palette left. So I looked through a couple of palettes and I decided to go with this shade right here. I feel like it's a little bit more rosy than some of the shades in my Pan palette, and it will pair really nicely with this pink, and it will pair really nicely with the new shadow I'm rolling in, as well as that one from Shine by Steam. And that shadow comes from this palette right here. This is my Odin's Eye Elva palette. And it is a palette that I absolutely love, but I haven't shown that much love yet. It does have, you know, a lot of beautiful shades that I feel like I can reach for this time of year. I do have one pan in here already, which is this shade. But the shadow that I decided to go with for this palette is this shadow right here. It is the deepest matte in the palette. You also could have had this one, but this one is a little bit more similar to what I have in my like other things that I'm panning. So I went with this one, and that is the shade, what is it called? Peony. So it is this, again, really beautiful rosier type of brown, and I think that's going to pair really nicely with the other shades in this color palette. I feel like I can do a lot of looks with all of these together, and I'm very, very excited to reach for it. The Elva palette though has quite deep shades. The pans are relatively deep. They're small, but they're deep, so you can maybe see that in this shadow right here. So I'm not sure if I'll be able to pan on it in those 20 uses. I'm hoping so. I think it depends on how powdery it is when I start using it, but that is the first shadow rolling in, and I'm very excited to reach for it. Then for shadow number 2 rolling in, that was an indie shadow, and I decided to go with a bit of a give me type of shadow because I already have a massive dip in this shade, and I've been wanting to reach for it more. It's actually on my Focus 15 list for my year of usage project pan, but I don't really count that as double dipping because that is more like a use focus shade rather than like an actual project pan. I don't like track usage each month. I just pull out some shadows that I want to reach for more. But this is a shadow that I already have a few uses on this year, and I have used it a lot in the past too. And that is this shadow right here, which comes from Terra Mousse. So that is of course an indie brand, and it is the shade Flare Star. So you can see here that it does already have quite a decent dip, and I don't think I'm too far off with pan for this one. It is very flaky, which is also why it goes a little bit quicker, and it is this beautiful shade. I have swatched it there on my finger still, but I feel like you can see a bit more of a cool toned shift. You can see it there of course as well, but when I look at it, see a lot of gold, green, warm pink, stuff like that. So it's a very shifty shadow. Again, not sure if you can pick up the shifts on camera. Maybe, I'm hoping a little bit, but I'm very, very excited. They're going to pair perfectly with that pink, and again, this one not an out corner, going to make a very beautiful monochromatic look, and I am so excited. So those are 2 shadows that are rolling in. And looking at my color palette, I do hope to get a couple of shades out next month. If we can have 2 out, that would be great. And the 2 that I think I'm most likely to roll out next month would be that matte pink. I'm hoping again with this color story, which goes really well with it, I can use that pink more. So 12 more uses on that one in case I want to roll it out. And then we also have this shade, which since I'm so close to pan already, I do think I can have out next month, which would be amazing. But there you guys is actually going to be my update today. Let me know if you think I'm able to roll out any of these shades next month, or how's it looking. Let me know which color story you prefer. Do you prefer this more like, you know, pink, blue, kind of like a lot of pastel shades, or more this kind of monochromatic pink toned palette with that kind of pop of minty multichrome? Let me know which one you prefer. I think I prefer this one. I love pink toned eyeshadows. I love these type of warm pinks. They are right up my alley. So yeah, I hope you guys are having an amazing day, and I will catch you in my next one. Bye guys.